Namaste and a very warm welcome to each one of you. Are you able to hear me? Okay. So it's wonderful to be with seekers, with jnanis, like all of you, who have made spirituality a priority and who are so deeply interested in self-knowledge. As you know, we have been basing some of these talks on Satdarshanam by Sri Ramana Maharshi. So Sat means existence. Sat means that which doesn't change. It is never born, it never dies. And it cannot be modified in any way. It is the cause of all causes, but it has no cause. So this is Sat. And Sat Darshana means the seeing the self. But Bhagavan has told us in several shlokas earlier, being the self is seeing the self. We will not be able to see the self as a separate entity because each one of us, we are the self. So what does Bhagavan say in these shlokas? Before we look at that, I would like to offer my pranams to the source of my inspiration. Please do join me. Let's chant Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Asatoma Satkamaya together. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our pranams to Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi, whose teachings we are going to explore today. I would like to offer my pranams to Sri Narasimha Prabhuji, who is guiding me on the path of Atma Vichara, to Sri Adi Shankaracharya, who has left us such a great legacy on Advaita Vedanta, and to all Mahatmas and Sadgurus who illumine our paths today. May their grace and blessings, which are always with us, establish us in the self. So it is customary to always take any teachings in the context in which they are given. Since we are going to look at the 39th, 40th, 41st and 42nd shlokas of Satdarshanam, let's see what Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi told us in the 37th and 38th shlokas. So in both these shlokas, Bhagwan said, we have many theories, right? We have theories that say, yeah, as long as we are doing sadhana, during the period of sadhana, there is duality, there is bound to be duality. And only after realization, there is non-duality. But Bhagwan says, this is not true. No such theory is true. To explain that and help us understand, he quotes the parable of the 10th man, where 10 Shishyas of a Sadguru, they traveled across a river. And when they reached the other bank, one of them suddenly got a doubt. Shouldn't we count and see whether all of us have reached safely or not? And he made 9 people stand in a row and he started counting them. We know that he forgot to count himself. So each time he counted, there were only 9. And all of them started weeping. And then a stranger who was passing by and was watching all this unfolding in front of him, he understood the mistake that the person who was counting was each time. So he said, all 10 of you stand in a row and I will give you a pat on the back. And whenever I pat you, you start counting consecutively. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So when he patted the 10th man, he said 10. And then all of them started jumping with joy. They said, oh, nobody is drowned. We found the 10th man. We found the 10th man. But actually, the 10th man was not drowned at all. He was always there. So Bhagavan is reminding us in the 37th sloka, he says, the 10th man was present not just at the end, when the stranger came and counted them, but he was also present before the search began, during the search for the 10th man, and at the end also. So such is the self. The self is always present. It is a substratum over which the world, over which the jiva are all appearances. They are superimpositions. So in the 38th shloka, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi says, as long as we feel that we are the doer, if I feel that I am the doer of any particular action, action here means action of any of the panchakoshas. It can be a physical action, it can be a thought or an emotion, an action of the mind. It can be a decision or an ideal, which are actions of the intellect. So any of these, the minute I feel that I am the doer of this thought, I am the thinker of this thought, I am the one who feels this emotion, I have generated this idea, I have done this physical action, etc., then one is bound to reap the fruits of those actions. Doership and enjoyership, kartritva and bhoktritva, they are inseparable, they go together. So Ramana says, if you inquire who is the doer and you enter the heart, by the heart here Bhagavan means consciousness, then doership ends, because self-knowledge is realized. The self which was always there will be realized. So when this happens, Bhagavan says, 3 kinds of karma are destroyed: sanchita, prarabdha and agami. All 3 kinds of karma are destroyed. This indeed, says Ramana, is liberation. So this is what we covered in our last session. As we begin the 39th sloka, before that, I would like to talk about Dr. T.N. Krishnaswamy, a great devotee of Bhagavan. I will tie this up later to what we are going to study in the shlokas also. So T.N. Krishnaswamy was also popularly known as Dr. T.N.K. Dr. T.N.K. was a medical student in Chennai, and he was also an ardent photographer. So he was very stressed out by the course and the exams, and he was nearing the final year of his studies. He wanted a break, so he decided, I will go to Vellore there is a nice fort in Vellore. So he wanted to go there and click some photographs. He went to Vellore. Then he looked at that fort and he said, this is very disappointing. No, there's nothing great about this fort. It's just a wall. And how many photographs can I take of a fort after all? Then somebody in Vellore told him, Arey, you want to take photos, is it? Why don't you go to Tiruvannamalai? It's very close by. That has a beautiful temple of Arunachala. Very old temple, ancient temple, huge. You will get so many different things to photograph. So he went to Tiruvannamalai. He clicked photos of the temple. Some friends were also with him. And then in the temple, one person whom they met suggested, there is a great Maharshi. There's a great Maharshi living here at the base of the Arunachala hill. Why don't you go and click some photographs of that Maharshi? At that time, Bhagwan was still not very well known. And there were not many photographs of him, in fact. So this young boy, the student, inside he felt, what's the use of clicking a sage or a saint? Is that such a great subject for my photo? But anyway, he thought, let me go. Let me go, and anyway, I'm here, let me take a look. What do I lose? So he went to Ramanashram. Ramanashram in those days was a very humble place. Just a few huts scattered around. And there were many devotees, not many, maybe about 7, 8 devotees there. And Dr. TNK went, not yet a doctor, but Krishna Swami went there. When Krishna Swami went there and he asked one person standing there, he said, I want to take a photograph of this great Maharshi. Where will he be? They said, wait for 5 minutes. He's just gone up the hill. He will come down. He's waiting. In just a couple of minutes, he sees this person coming down, just wearing a loincloth, a kaupina, and he's walking down with a couple of devotees. Then this devotee to whom Krishna Swami has been speaking, he goes up to Bhagwan and he says, Bhagwan, these students have come all the way from Chennai. They would like to take a photograph of you. Everybody was wondering, what will Ramana say? Will he allow these people to photograph him? Surprisingly, Bhagwan said, oh, they want to photograph, let them photograph. Do you want me to stand like this or like this? So very easily photos were clicked. And the students, they decided to go back. As they started approaching the gate, exiting the gate, a sannyasin came running. The sannyasin was Ramana Maharshi's younger brother, and he was popularly known as Chinna Swami. Chinna means in Tamil, little. So the younger brother of the main Swami, Ramana, was known as Chinna Swami. So Chinna Swami came and said, we don't have a proper photograph of Bhagwan. I'll give you the address of our ashram. Once you go to Chennai, can you post me some photographs? And for a long time, this photo of Bhagwan was the main photo in every devotee's house. So Krishna Swami sent the photographs. And then he received a request after some months again. Can you come and take some more photographs of Bhagwan? We want a big group photograph. There are so many devotees now. So all of them want a photograph with Bhagwan. We don't know any other photographers. You must remember that in those days, it was not like today. Just, flip out your mobile and click a selfie or click any photo. It's not like that. Photography had just come in. It was very rare. So they said, we don't know any other photographers. Can you please come? Then Krishna Swami had passed out by then, and he had set up his own practice, and he had become quite a well-known doctor in a short time. Many film stars, politicians, famous people started coming to him. Then he felt, Arey, this is becoming a nuisance. Once is okay, but they keep on asking me like this, please come and take photographs. How many times can I keep going from Chennai to Tiruvannamalai? 3 hours I have to travel. But it's okay, this time let me go. So he went and he took that group photograph. And then he thought, let me just ask, Bhagwan, can I take some portraits of yours? So Bhagwan each time posed for him, which he never did for anyone else. That is how, in fact, whatever photographs, we have so many photos of Ramana Maharshi. Online you find so many, in books you find so many. If you go to Ramanashram, you will find huge photographs of Bhagwan lit up from behind. It is all over in the Samadhi hall. 80% of these photos were all clicked by Dr. TNK over many, many years. So one image after glorious image. Later, when somebody asked him, why did you go to the ashram? In the beginning, you felt it's a nuisance. Why did you keep going? Why did you keep clicking photographs? He said, why does a child run to its mother? Why does a calf run to its cow? You can't help it. It is a pull. You just have to respond. And he says, nobody will believe this. But Bhagwan would go wherever I asked him. He would pose wherever I asked. I would say, Bhagwan, lift up this hand. Bhagwan, turn your face this side. And he would allow me to do it. So once they wanted Bhagwan's photo, you can see here, Bhagwan is sitting in a Dakshinamurti pose with Arunachala hill as the backdrop. Thousands of devotees considered Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi to be the avatar of Dakshinamurti, the Paramaguru. So when this photograph, Dr. TNK is asked to take this photograph, so he goes with Bhagwan. Bhagwan sits on the rock. And then suddenly Bhagwan asks him, just tell me, does Dakshinamurti have his right leg up or his left leg up? Now TNK is in a dilemma. He doesn't know. So he's wondering, what shall I say? Then Ramana says, you know what? You take one of each pose. Once I will sit with my left leg up, and then I'll sit with my right leg up. You click both. Then we'll see later which one to use. And sometimes he would feel, am I chasing a shadow? Bhagwan keeps saying, you are not the body, mind and intellect, but I am here again and again and again to click pictures of his body. Am I doing the right thing? Am I too attached to his form? I'm not listening to his teachings. He was always focused on clicking photos, photos, photos. He would come for a day and from morning till night, he would click photos. And during the last days of Bhagwan, when he had carcinoma, cancer of the hand, it was bone cancer, very painful. And during those last days, Dr. TNK, because he was also a doctor, he was invited to be present with Bhagwan. And he says, on one side, I was in anguish. My Sadguru, his body is deteriorating so much. He must be in such great pain because that tumor was sitting right on a nerve. Extremely painful. But on the other side, he says, I was very curious. How will this great Maharshi, will his teachings be borne out in his last days? How will he behave? He knows that the body is going to perish. He's going through a lot of pain. So how will he actually deal with this practically? Will the teachings be borne out or not? And he says, never once did Ramana speak about pain in the first person. When his kidneys started failing about 3-4 days before, his Mahasamadhi. Dr. T.N.K. says, Ramana said, there is intolerable and sharp pain in the head. He would just describe everything in the third person and he would go on. He was there at the last minute of Bhagwan's life also, when Bhagwan drew his last breath. People were chanting outside, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva. And without any effort, Bhagwan just drew his last breath and that was it. At the same time, a huge meteor passed across the sky from one end to the other. Even people in Chennai and different parts of South India were able to see that meteor. So once Bhagwan Samadhi, Dr. T.N.K. says, I was bereft. Till then, my only mission in life had been to capture one image after another of my wonderful, loving, compassionate master. But now suddenly, that seva is gone. I can't do it anymore. And I started reading his teachings. And he started feeling, I never asked Bhagwan to explain his teachings to me when he was physically present. What will happen to me now? But as he started reading the teachings, he says, I felt as though Ramana was explaining everything to me. I could understand everything so clearly. And he got established in the self before he passed away. So such was the glorious life of Dr. T.N.K., who has given so many different photographs for us, Bhagwan in all kinds of poses. So his own journey from the form to the formless, the form of the master to the formless self, which the master was teaching about. So we come to the 39th shloka. Let us lead and follow, chant the shloka together. Baddhatva bhave sati moksha chinta, baddhatva bhave sati moksha chinta, bandhattu kasya iti vicharanena, bandhattu kasya iti vicharanena, siddhe swayam swatmani nityamukte, siddhe swayam swatmani nityamukte, kva bandha chinta, kva cha moksha chinta, kva bandha chinta, kva cha moksha chinta. Baddhatva bhave. As long as we feel that we are bound, I feel that I am a victim of circumstances. I feel that I don't have freedom of choice. Life keeps happening to me and I cannot decide, make my own decisions. Whatever I want doesn't always come to me. So I feel bound. Baddhatva bhave, as long as we feel bound like this, sati moksha chinta. Sati is to be immersed. Moksha chinta, in thoughts of liberation. Generally, we focus on what we don't have. So when I feel bound, I am immersed more and more in thoughts of liberation. How can I get liberated? When will I get liberated? What should I do to get liberated? I'm tired of this sorrow again and again. So bandhaha tu kasya. Kasya bandhaha. For whom is this bondage? Tu iti vicharanena. When you analyze like this, when you go on thinking deeply about this, then siddhe swayam svatmani nityamukte. Siddhe, you will be established in the self. Swayam, you will be established. Svatmani, in the self. Nityamukte, you will be ever free. Then Ramana asks, Kva bandha chinta?
kvacha moksha chinta. Then, for whom is there any thought of bondage, and for whom is there any thought of freedom? This is what he is asking us. So, Sri Ganapati Muni, who translated the Tamil Ulladu Narpadu, 40 verses on reality, into Sanskrit. That is what we just chanted, his translation. So, in English, if we look at the translation, it says, thoughts of liberation are only so long as one thinks one is bound. Be very carefully look at that. One is not actually bound. Bhagavan is saying one thinks one is bound. Apparently, one seems to be bound. Sorry. One attains the eternally liberated I through the inquiry, for whom is the bondage? So when we start asking the question, who is bound? Then that is the way to liberation. Liberation again in quotes, because nobody is bound and nobody is free. But as long as one is attached to the BMI, I think I am the body, mind, and intellect, then I feel bound. But when I start self-inquiry and I ask, for whom is this bondage? Then I get established in the self. Bhagavan says that is how you will get established in the self. After that, how can a thought of bondage or freedom arise? Sri Lakshman Sharma, who lived with Ramana Maharshi in the ashram, was a very staunch devotee. He has also translated Ulladu Narpadu into Sanskrit and English. So this is his English translation. He says, if there be that thought, I am bound, then the thought of deliverance will also arise. The two opposites, right? If I don't feel that I am bound, then I will not even think about liberation. When by the quest of who am I that is bound, the ever free real self alone remains. That means when I drop the I am the body, mind, and intellect identity, then the ever free real self, which is ageless and deathless, to whom can the thoughts of bondage arise again? How can the thought of deliverance arise in the sage who is done with actions? So he is now the non-doer. He is the self. 24/7, he is aware of his true identity, of his true nature. Avadhuta Gita also has several shlokas which say the same thing. So I have taken some parallel shlokas, a couple of them here. Na baddho naiva muktoham na chalam brahmana pratak na karta na cha bhoktaham vyapya vyapaka varjitaha. So here we are understanding I am neither bound na baddho aham na eva mukto aham. When there is only the self, when there is no other, who is bound and who is free? Avadhuta Gita is saying, I am neither bound nor am I liberated. Na karta, na cha bhokta aham. I am not the doer, neither am I the enjoyer of the fruit of that action. Brahmanaha prathak. I am Brahman alone, the limitless self, and nothing else. Vyapaka, vyapya vyapaka varjitaha. I do not pervade anything. We say Brahman pervades the whole of creation, and the creation is pervaded by Brahman. But when I am Brahman and I am no other, then I do not pervade nor am I pervaded. That means The shloka is saying there is nothing other than Brahman. Everything else is just a manifestation of the same self. Yadi nama na muktosi na baddhosi kadachana sakaram cha nirakaram atmanam manyase katham. So, having never been bound, na baddho asi, I need never be liberated. Na mukto asi, why should I get liberated? There is no question of bondage. So how could the self, with or without form, ever be bound? Kadachana means, how can it ever be? Sakaram, cha nirakaram, with or without form. That means, even now with the body, mind and intellect, for Ajnani, though the body, mind and intellect will continue to exist as long as the prarabdha needs to be worked out, even though the body is there, for the Jnani, he is always the self. He is ever the self. And he understands, I was never bound. All that was just a delusion. And I need never be liberated. When I am never bound, why should I be liberated? And without form. So after shedding the body also, the Jnani remains ever free. So that is what Avadhuta Gita is telling us. It's easy for us to understand this through a story. It's a simple story. There was a very, very good king. Good because he was concerned about his citizens. He was concerned about the infrastructure in the kingdom. So everything was made as convenient as possible for all those who lived there in his kingdom. He was a very popular king. All his subjects loved him. He rewarded the virtuous, and there were hardly any crimes happening there. Very peaceful. Then all the neighboring kings, looking at the prosperity of the kingdom, when there is inner peace, there is outer prosperity. It gets reflected outside as prosperity. So, seeing this prosperity, all the other kings, they didn't understand that it is coming from the inner peace of all the people who live in this kingdom. They wanted to capture this kingdom, and they were jealous of this king's reputation, because everybody else was inferior, was regarded as inferior when compared to this king, every other ruler. So they plotted with the prime minister of this king, and with the very little effort, they were able to take over the kingdom. So they took over the kingdom, and they humiliated the king. They imprisoned the king. They put him into jail. They didn't give him, nowadays if we see, if they imprison politicians, usually they give them some privileges. They have a very luxurious place where they stay, even though it's a prison. But here, this king was imprisoned with all the other common criminals in the same jail. He is there. Several months pass. They're all watching. They want him to be humiliated. They want him to feel, very weak and victimized and depressed. But the king is always cheerful, always laughing, always smiling. He's very friendly with all the other prisoners. They're very puzzled. So they call him one day and they ask him, "Look, we took away everything from you. Your freedom, your entire kingdom. We have jailed you with so many other prisoners. You're not able to see any of your family. You're not able to meet any of your citizens, your ministers, nothing. There's no hope for you to escape from that prison." then how is it that you're so cheerful, you're so happy? The king said, yeah, whatever you said is true, you have done all that. But you have no power over my inner state of being. Even when I was a king, do you know why I was able to rule so well? Because all the time I understood my true nature. I understood that bliss is within me. I am bliss. The kingdom, my power, my popularity, none of that was the source of my happiness. That's why I was able to rule the kingdom justly. I was able to rule without being greedy. Now you have taken away all those things, but you cannot take away my happiness. I have understood the nature of the world. The world comes and goes. Jagat. Nothing is permanent in this world. Keeps changing, it keeps changing. But inside the self, which is the substratum of this whole creation, that never changes. I am this bliss, I am this peace. So whatever you do to me, whether you torture me, you imprison me, you kill me, it really does not matter. Whatever are the responsibilities that I have to shoulder in this life, I will keep shouldering. Whatever role is imposed upon me, I will respond to that role. But my inner peace, my inner bliss will never be contaminated in any way. So this is what the king says to all the people who imprisoned him. Seeing this, those kings also felt bad. They understood the greatness of the king and they let him go. Once more, he started ruling his kingdom. So we come to the 40th shloka. What does the 40th shloka says? Let us chant together. रूपिणी अरूपिणी उभयात्मिका च रूपिणी अरूपिणी उभयात्मिका च मुक्ति त्रिरूप इति विदः वदन्ति मुक्ति त्रिरूप इति विदः वदन्ति इदं त्रयं य विविनक्ति अहमिध इदं त्रयं य विविनक्त्याद अहं धीः तस्य प्रणाश परमार्थमुक्तिः तस्य प्रणाश परमार्थमुक्तिः. So we will start from the last word of the second line. Vadanti. They say. Who says? So Bhagavan is saying, scholars say many things about liberation. They say there are three kinds of liberation. Three things may happen. Rupini, the form may continue after liberation. Arupini, the form may be lost after liberation. Ubhayatmika, the form may continue or it may not continue, both ways. It may be there and it may not be there at the same time. That can also happen. So all this can happen at the time of liberation, say the scholars of Vedanta. But what does Ramana Maharshi say? He says, Idam trayam ya vivinakti aham dhihi. All these three, vivinakti, aham dhihi, that ego, which is analyzing, understanding what are these different theories, which of them is right, which is vivinakti, which is examining, idam trayam, all these three. That aham dhihi, that ego, tasyaha, pranashaha, when that ego is destroyed, paramartha muktihi, that is called true liberation. says Bhagwan. Some scholars say that after liberation, form remains. Others say that forms do not last. Yet others say that sometimes form remains and sometimes it is lost. The loss of the ego, which examines these three concepts alone, is true liberation. So Sri Lakshman Sharma says, I shall here state clearly the truth among the three contentions, that deliverance is with form, that it is without form, and that it is both ways. True deliverance is just the utter extinction of him named I, who investigates the truth among these contentions. So, I am the body, mind, and intellect. This ego, which is so attached to this identity and which investigates these different theories, even while it is investigating these theories, we are free. It is only the ego that is creating an illusion of bondage. When that identity drops, that limited identity attached to the form, when that drops, that is true liberation. What is left behind is only the self, which was always there. So in the Avadhuta Gita, it says, Atmanam satatam vidhi sarvatraikam nirantaram aham dhyata param dhyayam akhandam khandatyate katham. So it is describing all the characteristics of the self. It says, you are thinking you are this limited body, mind, and intellect. But this body is so small, but the self is continuous. We ask a question, what is there below this building? We are all sitting in some building, right? In our own homes, maybe in the living room, maybe in the bedroom. So under the building, whichever floor we may be sitting on, below the lowest floor of the building, there is a foundation. Below the foundation, what is there? There is soil, there is earth. Then if we come out of the building, there is a road. Below the road, the same soil continues. After the road, there is another building. Below that building, the same soil continues. Into the next road, the same soil continues. Into the park which is there, the same soil continues. So whatever else may be resting on that soil, like appearances of different jivas, different parts of creation, but below everything on earth, there is soil. So in the same way, Avadhuta Gita is saying, Atmanam satatam vidya, understand, vidhi. Atma is satatam. It is continuous, it is unbroken. Nirantaram, no gaps. There are no spaces between the self. Self is always present, everywhere, continuous, unbroken. Sarvatra ekam. It is the one within all. No matter how many living beings may be there, how many inanimate objects may be there, it is this Atma which is within each, pulsating within each, and it is a substratum below each. Aham dhyata param dhyayam. There is no division. I am the meditator. Aham dhyata, I am the meditator. Param dhyayam, and the highest object of meditation, both are the self alone. So Avadhuta Gita is asking, how can you divide the indivisible? We talk about Triputi, right? We say subject, object, and the process of perception. But Avadhuta Gita is saying everything is the self alone. Self is continuous, unbroken. So where will you divide the self? Na jate na mrutosi tvam na te dehaha kadachana sarvam brahmeti vikyatam braviti bahudha shrutihi, na jate na mrutosi. You are neither born nor do you die. It is all an illusion in your dream. If you are born and in your dream, I once had a dream where I also died. Then I woke up, I found I am not dead. That was just a dream. So we are not, we are neither born nor do we die. It is the body that is born, the body dies, and the body is a appearance. It is mithya, it is temporary. It does not have any permanent existence. Avadhuta Gita goes very deep and it says, you are under an illusion that you have a body. You don't even have a body, in fact. You are not even born, neither will you die. You don't even have a body. The scriptures declare in many different ways the well-known dictum, all is Brahman. Brahmeti Vikyatam, Sarvam Brahmeti Vikyatam. That is what they declare. Everything is Brahman. There is nothing other than the self. So as long as we regard ourselves as the body, Deha Bhava, then there is plurality. But if we understand our true nature as the self, every single thing is nothing but a manifestation of the self. That is what happens when the ego dies. So in a park, this man was sitting. Okay, he's sitting on a park bench. You can see he is holding a newspaper. So he's holding his newspaper like this. He turns it this way, turns it this way. He'll keep it upside down. Then he looks up at the sky. Then he looks again at the newspaper. There's another man sitting on another bench nearby. He's watching the antics of this person. What is this man doing? Finally, though he doesn't know that person sitting on the bench, he says, Arey bhaiya, what's happening? I think maybe, your classes are not working, it looks like. Perhaps it's time for an eye test. Perhaps you need to change your glasses. So then this man says, no. Actually, when I was walking up to the park, I found these glasses at the entrance of the park. They look so attractive, so I just picked them up. And now I'm putting on those glasses. But if I see the newspaper, it looks red. Then I thought, let me look at the sky. That looks red. I turned the paper upside down. It still looks red. I don't know what to do now. I'm just caught in this dilemma. I don't know what to do. That man says, Arey, simple, yaar. Just take off those glasses and throw them into the trash can. They don't belong to you, right? Just throw them into the trash can. Oh my God, that had not occurred to me at all. You're right. I don't need them. I forgot that was an option. So he throws away the glasses. Then what happens? He can see everything as it is. So this is like a parallel. It may seem silly to us. How can he pick up these glasses? How can he think? How can he forget that removing the glasses is an option? But we are doing a similar thing. We're all doing a similar thing. We have this thought, this deep-rooted belief that I am the body. Whatever happens to the body is happening to me. This pain is happening to me. Wow, it's so comfortable. It's happening to me. I am comfortable. Any thought that comes, I am happy now. An unhappy thought comes, Arey yaar, my mood is switched off today. So I am identifying with the body, mind, and intellect so deeply. I have forgotten that is not my true nature. It doesn't really belong to me at all. I am peace. I am bliss. This need not change with every single thing that happens outside. That is my true nature. I just have to discard this belief, this thought, this false identity. I have to drop it. That is all that needs to be done. Nothing new has to be acquired. That man didn't need an eye test. He didn't need a new pair of glasses. So, till the Sadguru comes, it was this man on the other bench who pointed out, no? He said, then those glass don't belong to you. You don't need them. Throw them. Yeah, chuck them away. So the Guru comes and says, what are you doing? Why are you going on identifying with that body, mind, intellect? You were never born. You will never die. You are the immortal, eternal, infinite self. You are Satchidananda. Chuck that identity. Throw it away. So that when we are able to do that, through constant Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Seva, that is when the identity becomes looser and one day it falls away, it is gone. So we should focus on the real problem, says Bhagwan. Shloka 41, this is 41 and 42, we'll look through quickly because they're more about the authorship. But after that, we have a very interesting bit about what kind of Guru Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi was. And how do Sadgurus guide disciples on the path? So we'll look at some very interesting examples. We'll do a little bit of self-enquiry also. So Shloka 41, let us chant. Saddarshana Dravida Vaknibandham Saddarshana Dravida Vaknibandham Maharshina Sri Ramanena Shuddham Maharshina Sri Ramanena Shuddham Prabandham Utkrishtam Amartyavanyam Prabandham Utkrishtam Amartyavanyam Anudya Vasishtha Muni Vyatanit Anudya Vasishtha Munihi Vyatanit. So, Maharshina Sri Ramanena Nibandham. This is a composition of Sri Ramana Maharshi, the Satdarshanam. It is originally written in Dravida Vak. Dravida Vak means Tamil, the language of the Dravidians. So it is written in Tamil. This composition is Shuddham. It is pure. It is Utkrishtam, sacred and uplifting. It lifts you up to the frequency of the Master himself. Amartya Vanyam Anudya Vasishtha Munihi Vyatanit. So, this has been translated Anudya into Amartya Vanyam, into the immortal language called Sanskrit by Vasishtha Ganapati Muni. So, this is what Sri Ganapati Muni is saying. Maharshi Ramana has composed this pure work Satdarshanam in Tamil. This sacred and uplifting scripture has been rendered into Sanskrit by Vasishtha Ganapati Muni. Shloka 42. Sattattvasaram saralam dadana Sattattvasaram saralam dadana Mumukshulokaya mudam dadana Mumukshulokaya mudam dadana Amanusha Shri Ramaniya Vani Amanusha Shri Ramaniya Vani Mayuka Bhittihi Munivak Vibhati Mayuka Bhittihi Munivak Vibhati. So Sri Ganapati Muni is saying Sat Tattva Saram. the entire essence of eternal truth, Sri Ramana Maharshi has given it to us saralam, in such a simple way, dadana, given it. Mumukshu lokaya mudam dadana. So this Satdarshanam, it gives a lot of delight to all mumukshus, all seekers of liberation. Amanusha Sri Ramaniya Vani. We all say that Upanishads are apaurushaya. Vedas, Upanishads, they're all amanusha, they're all apaurushaya. That means they are not made by the human mind, by the human brain. It is a revelation. It is a divine revelation that happens. And whatever is given is divine, it is not human. So in the same way, just like the Upanishads are apaurushaya, Sri Ganapati Muni, who was a great Vedantin, he could quote verbatim without looking Vedas, Upanishads, everything he knew by heart, and he knew their meanings, and he had a big following of disciples himself. When he became a disciple of Ramana Maharshi, he told all his disciples, now my master is your master. So such a great Vedantin, he is saying, Amanusha Sri Ramaniya Vani. The words of Sri Ramana Maharshi are divine, they are not human, just like the Upanishads. And he says, the vak of the Muni, that means my words, vibhati, shine resplendently. Why? Mayuka bhittihi. They are just an echo of the Maharshi's words. They are not my own. They are an echo of his divine Vani. Bhittihi means wall. Mayuka. When a ray of sound goes and hits a wall, it comes back as an echo. So Ganapati Muni is saying, this translation, yes, has been done by me into Sanskrit. But this translation is also glorious. And why is it glorious? Because it is a complete, it is a very, very faithful echo. It is echoing the words of my great master, Sri Ramana Maharshi. That is what he is saying. That means I have not deviated from the script of my master, he is saying. The Muni's words shine, reflecting as a wall does the sweet and divine voice of Ramana, which gives the essence of truth easily and is a delight to seekers of liberation. Why was Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi so famous? We have come to the end of Satdarshanam. Wonderful 40 verses in which Bhagwan is packing the entire knowledge, the wisdom that is needed for any seeker of truth. A complete roadmap is there. But why did Ramana Maharshi become so famous? Why was he so beloved? Why did disciples and devotees, why did they have this great pull towards their master? Why do Sadgurus exercise that pull on all their devotees? So this is something for us to ponder over. To explain this or to illustrate this, you can say, I've taken a few incidents, true incidents from Bhagwan's life. And all these incidents in this case revolve around a disciple called Perumal Swami. So Perumal Swami came to Tiruvannamalai quite early in 1914. That means Bhagwan's Mahasamadhi was in 1950. So for almost 36 years, he was in the presence of his master. So this Perumal Swami, we know that Ramana Maharshi, if you have read his biography, we will know that he lived in different places in Tiruvannamalai. It is only after his mother took Mahasamadhi that the present ashram was started. Before that, he was in various places, and for many years in Skandashram, you may have gone up the hill and visited Skandashram. It is a cave on somewhere midway on top of the hill. And then a little lower than that, we have Virupaksha Ashram, also another cave. So when Bhagwan was living in Virupaksha Ashram, Perumal Swami went and had his darshan. He was very happy. He said, I have found my master. It was the following around Bhagwan at that time was small, a few devotees. So Perumal Swami became like a manager of that ashram. He was very capable. He had many leadership qualities. So one day he was going down the hill to fetch some groceries. Many people would come and try to force Ramana Maharshi into different things. They would claim that Ramana Maharshi is my disciple. They would try to make Bhagwan take sannyasa. There are many stories like that. So here one such group, one group of, you can say, tribal people, they came from a forest. They came up to the cave, Virupaksha cave, or Skandashram, one of the two. And then they said, we are followers of Podigai Siddhar. He is our master. And our master has sent us to you, whether you are willing or not. If you are not willing, we will bind you hand and foot. But he has asked us to bring you. He says you are a ripe soul and we have to carry you into the forest and present you to him. Bhagwan was sitting there very quiet. He is not responding. He's just calm, he's not disturbed, he's just sitting there, witnessing whatever is happening. Then some shepherd boys were there. They saw what is happening. They ran down the hill. Perumal Swami was somewhere 1/3 way down. They brought him back. One look at these people, Perumal Swami understood. So he said, I have a big, I have a lot of oil here. I will have you go and bring a big cauldron. Yesterday I had a dream. Very good, all of you came here. You know, your master Podigai Siddhar, he came in my dream and he said, I am going to send all my disciples to you. You please fry them in a big cauldron of oil and you bring those fried disciples back to me. And he said, I'm just going to go there and fetch a big cauldron so that I can fry all of you. And these people simply disappeared. So in this way, many, many times, Perumal Swami protected Bhagwan. He took care of running the ashram. He eased the way for everything to happen correctly. But he was also a dictatorial person, very authoritarian person. Whatever he wanted should happen. So after a few years, when Bhagwan was in Skanda ashram, his mother, Alagammal, she came to live with him. So she lived with him for the last 8 years of her life. When she came there, this Perumal Swami didn't like it. He said, Bhagwan is a sage. You cannot come and stay here. You are his mother. He is not a grihastha, you know, he is not a family person. Why are you coming and staying? Don't you have any other children? Can't you go and stay with them? Why are you coming and bothering our Bhagwan? So immediately Bhagwan got up and he said, Amma, come. You take your clothes. We will go somewhere else where we can stay together, because Bhagwan had offered protection to his mother. And under Bhagwan's guidance, his mother was actually liberated also. We can take that up some other time. So when Bhagwan said something, then Perumal Swami would not contradict it. Immediately, Perumal Swami fell at his feet and he said, Bhagwan, I'm very sorry, please come, please come. And that was resolved. So there was one Sri Lankan devotee called Yalpani. So this Yalpani was highly devoted to Bhagwan. One day he had put cow dung all over the ashram floor. In those days that was the flooring. Perumal Swami came back when the floor was wet, and he got very irritated with Yalpani. He said, you get out of the ashram. So Yalpani didn't want to leave Ramana. Ramana was not there at that time. He had gone out. And he didn't want to disobey the Sarvadikari, the manager also. So, being a smart person, he climbed up a coconut tree. The top of the coconut tree is going outside the boundary of the ashram. He climbed up and he sat on top. He's still inside the ashram, but the top of the tree is outside the ashram boundary. So Perumal Swami could not do anything. When Bhagwan asked, why didn't Yalpani come to eat bhiksha? Why didn't he come for lunch today, prasadam? Then they said, all this happened, Bhagwan. He's sitting on top of the coconut tree. Arre, so Bhagwan went out. Very softly he said, Yalpani, கீழே வந்துடு, சாப்பாடு இருக்கு, come down, come and eat with us. So Yalpani came and he ate. So why am I telling all these incidents? To show how Perumal Swami's attitude was. He was devoted to Bhagwan, but because he was an authoritarian person, he didn't want anybody to question his commands except Bhagwan. But after a while, Chinna Swami Niranjanananda, who was the younger brother of Ramana Maharshi, Ramana Maharshi never took formal sannyasa, but his younger brother had taken sannyasa. So he came and the management of the ashram was handed over to him. And by then, Bhagwan was at the base of the hill where his mother Samadhi was. Mother Samadhi was there. Perumal Swami didn't like Bhagwan moving down, and he didn't want Chinna Swami to take away his role. So he got very angry. He went out of the ashram. He is still a disciple of Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi. He put a case in court. He put a case in court saying, this Chinna Swami should be driven out of the ashram. I should be given the role of manager in the ashram. And because, court procedures are very slow, he started a parallel Ramana ashram in the town. He built a statue of Ramana Maharshi and he said, this is the actual Ramana ashram. That other Ramana ashram, don't go there. That is not real. That is not true. Come here. So this created a lot of confusion for post office. Where to send the letters addressed to Ramanashram? Hundreds of letters would come to Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi every day. People would describe their problems. They would ask him for solutions. He would dictate letters and solutions would go out to devotees. Many people had not even seen him. So now post office does not know. In the post office, every day fight would start. Niranjananda Swami will say this mail belongs to us. Then Perumal Swami will say it belongs to me. So Bhagwan said, Arre, don't worry about it. Let Perumal take whatever he wants. Then what is left, you bring it here. So for so many years, the court case was going on and it was a very difficult time for the ashram, all created unnecessarily by this Perumal Swami. Then one day that court case, Bhagwan and Ramanashram won the case and Perumal Swami lost the case. So that was a turning point for him. And he wanted to come and fall at the feet of Bhagwan and apologize. Everybody in the ashram said, Bhagwan, how much trouble he has created for us. Don't allow him to come. Don't forgive him, Bhagwan. He is not your disciple. If he is your disciple, can you behave like this? Bhagwan said, no, Perumal Swami, he looked after me so well. When he was here, when I was living up in the caves, he has done so much seva. He has taken care of me so well. If he wants to come, let him come. So when Perumal Swami came and fell at the feet of Bhagavan, Bhagavan said, and he said, Bhagavan, I have committed such a big mistake. I have done Guru Droha. The scriptures say that any kind of mistake can be forgiven, but Guru Droha cannot be forgiven, Bhagavan. I will go to hell. So Ramana said, Perumal, if you go to hell, will I also not be there with you? Are you not my disciple? So such was the compassion of Bhagavan. After that, Perumal Swami went to a small mantap somewhere close to the ashram, and he started doing intense self-inquiry. And Bhagavan would get food sent to him twice a day from Ramanashram. In fact, he outlived Bhagavan. Bhagavan took Mahasamadhi before him, and he had instructed his disciples, even after I drop this body, please continue to give food to Perumal Swami. Let him do his sadhana. You please support him by sending him food twice a day. So such is the grace of a Sadguru. Such is the compassion of a Sadguru. We talk about unconditional love, we talk about unconditional compassion. But Bhagavan says, just as a deer caught in the jaws of a tiger cannot escape, those caught by the glance of a Sadguru's grace will never be abandoned. Having their ego and vasanas completely destroyed, they will realize the non-dual truth. So once a disciple comes to the Sadguru, the disciple may take several wrong turns if he does not understand the teaching of the master, if he does not implement it correctly in his life. But still the Sadguru is always there. Somehow the Sadguru will create circumstances where there is a turning point. The ego and vasanas of the disciple is destroyed and he is established in the self. So such a Sadguru was Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, and such a Sadguru is every enlightened master who guides disciples on the path to mukti, to truth. So today we have come to the end of Satdarshanam. We have received a lot of wisdom from Bhagavan. Let us offer our gratitude to Bhagavan. May this wisdom liberate us and establish us in the truth. Though even at this point of time, there is no one who is bound and no one who is free. We are always the self, the eternal, the infinite. Let us close our eyes for a moment. Keep your spine straight, eyes lightly closed. The Sadguru is the reflection of the self, is a manifestation of the self. Close your eyes and imagine, visualize your Sadguru or Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, or all-encompassing self, which is your true nature. You can think of it as light. Just place that image, or even the Nirakara Shakti, the center of your eyebrows. Feel the grace of the Sadguru, the grace of the eternal self flowing into this empty vessel. Filling it completely. Peace, unconditional love. The grace of the Sadguru is ever present. If any thoughts come up in the mind, just shift the attention from the thought to the witness of the thought. I am the eternal witness. I am peace. I am bliss. I am compassion. The whole world is a manifestation of the self, which is my true nature. Just stay there for a couple of minutes. Whenever you feel like it, slowly open your eyes. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of this
exploration of Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi's teachings.